We are less than a week away from opening day, and that means it's time for a top 50 players list for the 2025 season. This list is predictive, so I'm basing this on how I think each player's performance will be in 2025. As the title states, I really value the stats that these players put up and not really anything else. If you enjoy the video, make sure to subscribe. It's completely free and it helps support the channel. Number 50 is Cristopher Sanchez. He doesn't generate a ton of swing and miss with a whiff rate in the 40th percentile and the K rate in the 28th percentile, but he has great command and is one of the best in the league when it comes to limiting hard contact. His hard hit rate is 34.5%, which is in the 82nd percentile. His ground ball rate was 58.3%, which is in the 95th percentile. This is caused by his changeup, which is the best of any starting pitcher in the league. He was 5th in the league in FIP last year, ahead of his teammate Zach Wheeler, meaning he's up there as a top pitcher for 2025. Number 49 is another Philly, Trey Turner. He recorded one of his worst defensive seasons with a -3 outs above average at the shortstop position. He also recorded his lowest stolen base total. He's going into his age 32 season, so it's not that surprising to see some of that fade away, although he is still in the 96th percentile in sprint speed. He does a very good job at pulling the ball in the air, which allowed him to be a 124 WRC plus hitter despite not having crazy exit velocities. Although he looks to be on the decline, Turner is still a great shortstop for 2025. Number 48 is Dansby Swanson. Swanson is one of the more safer picks to take in a list like this. Despite being a below average hitter last year, he was still worth 4.3 FWAR. This is obviously because of his elite defense at a premium position. According to fielding run value, Swanson was the best defensive shortstop in 2022, 2023, and 2024. His floor is a 3-win player, and as long as he keeps his offense near average, he's going to be a top 50 player in 2025. Number 47 is another shortstop, Willy Adames. Adames had a weird year last year. His fielding run value was 0, which is league average, but in 2023, he had a 12 fielding run value, which was in the 95th percentile. The drop on defense, though, was supported with a sharp improvement on offense. He went from a 94 WRC plus in 2023 to a 119 in 2024. If he can combine that offense with the 2023 defense, he will find himself much higher on this list, but that's a big if. Number 46 is Logan Webb. Webb is very similar to Sanchez in that he induces a ton of ground balls with his sinker and changeup. Webb also has a great ability to work deep into games. Because of his great command and pitch-to-contact mentality, he limits walks and gets very few deep counts. This allowed him to throw 420 innings over the past 2 seasons, by far the most in the league. In fact, he's the only pitcher to throw over 400. He gets a lot of outs, therefore, he will be a valuable pitcher in 2025. Number 45 is Oneil Cruz, now playing center field. At 6'7", shortstop was definitely a tough spot to put Cruz, but in center field, he can let his athleticism shine. He has the strongest arm in the league, he has the 88th percentile sprint speed, and his defensive metrics were significantly better during his short stint in center field last year. Offensively, it isn't going to take much for him to break out. He had a 99th percentile exit velo, 97th percentile barrel rate, and 100th percentile bat speed in 2024. He just needs to make a little more contact, and he could be one of the top players in the league. Number 44 is Adley Rutschman. Last year was certainly a down year for Adley. He struck out more, walked less, hit the ball softer, and was much worse on defense compared to 2023. Despite this, he was still worth 2.8 FWAR. He did deal with a hand injury in the second half of last season, though it is a little concerning to see a decline in all of these numbers. Taking into account that he's coming off back-to-back 5+ WAR seasons in 2022 and 2023, as well as only being 27 years old, he's still on this list heading into 2025. Number 43 is the Kansas City Royals ace, Cole Ragans. The fastball changeup combo is one of the best in the league. The changeup recorded a near 50% whiff rate in 2024, the highest whiff rate of any pitch from last year's starting pitchers. He had the lowest in-zone contact rate out of all starters last year, meaning he can attack the strike zone and hitters will still whiff. He's one of the best arms for the 2025 season. Number 42 is Jackson Chourio. It was a tale of two halves for Chourio last season. In the first half, he had an OPS of 678, but in the second, it shot up to 914. Overall, he put up a solid season worth 3.9 FWAR, but taking into account that he was only 20 years old makes that much more impressive. This guy has true 5-tool potential if he can stay consistent. The move from center field in the minor leagues to a corner spot in the majors certainly zaps his value potential, but that potential remains very high. Number 41 is 2024 breakout star Jarren Duran. He projects to line up in left field for most of the time this year. His defense and base running were two of the biggest reasons why he was so great in 2024. That defensive value might diminish a little though, playing full-time in left field. He did overperform his expected numbers last year offensively, and I think a little regression is likely in that category as well. Number 40 is Jacob deGrom and his new ligament. The fact that Jacob deGrom came back last year and still averaged 98 on the fastball and pitched 11 very good innings makes me much more confident in him for 2025. deGrom has easily been the best per inning starting pitcher of this generation, and if he remains healthy, he'll be a top 50 player for 2025. Number 39 is a similar entry Spencer Strider. He's projected to come back a few weeks into the season, and that is taken into account here. The innings are the biggest question for him in 2025. Last year, I had him ranked as my number one pitcher, and I still think he has that argument if he's 100% healthy. Out of all starting pitchers in the 2022 and 2023 seasons combined, he ranked first in FIP, xFIP, strikeout rate minus walk rate, and SIERA. In his first spring training outing, he struck out 6 of 8 batters faced, including 5 in a row in 2 2/3 perfect innings. Number 38 is Strider's teammate Michael Harris II. Harris is a great defensive center fielder. Last year, he was in the 88th percentile in fielding run value, and that was his worst finish in his 3 seasons. His biggest offensive weakness is excessive chasing. In 2024, he had the 18th highest swing rate and ranked 8th in out-of-zone swing rate, but was near 100th in in-zone swing rate. If he's going to swing that much, he needs to target more pitches in the zone. Despite this, he still projects to be an above-average hitter thanks to his good contact skills, and when you add the elite defense at a premier defensive position, he's a top 40 player. Number 37 is Freddie Freeman. Going into his 35-year-old season, we may be on the beginning of the decline for the future Hall of Famer. Last year, he put up the lowest WAR since 2015. His bat was still great. He had a 378 on base and a 137 WRC+. He does play first base though, and if you want to be an elite player at that position, you need to hit even better than that. Given his age and the decline we saw last year, I have him at a conservative 37. Number 36 is Patrick Bailey. As you may know, I'm always high on Patrick Bailey. He's probably the best framing catcher that we've ever seen. Until the ABS system comes into play in the regular season, his value will be insanely high just because of this. He was worth over 4 F4 last year by being a well below average hitter at 81 WRC+. He had 22 fielding run value, the highest in the league. If you want a full breakdown on that, you can watch my full video on Patrick Bailey. I'll link it in the description. There's still some potential on offense as his average exit velocity was in the 84th percentile last year and he pulls the ball in the air a lot. Number 35 is Corbin Carroll. In the first half, he had an OPS of 635, but in the second half, it was 919. He underwent shoulder surgery in January of last year, which some people are linking to the slow start. A lot of his value comes from his base running actually, as he has a case to be one of, if not the best base runner of all time. Between 2023 and 2024, he put up 23.4 base running runs, which was first by a wide margin with Jarren Duran in second with 15.6. Number 34 is Dylan Cease for the San Diego Padres. Looking back on his 2023 season where he posted a 4.58 ERA and 3.72 FIP, we can now see that the ERA was way too high as the FIP suggested. This past season, Cease had the best season of his career, posting a 3.1 FIP over 189.1 innings. This is thanks to him commanding his pitches better than he ever has, posting a career-low walk rate of 8.5%, while also not sacrificing his elite swing and miss stuff. Number 33 is Rafael Devers. He's still playing third base for now, and he probably should be a DH by the end of this season. He had a -5 fielding run value last year, which is in the 18th percentile. Offensively though, he's obviously much better. His hard hit rate was in the 95th percentile, and he gets on base via the walk at an 11% clip. He had a 134 WRC+ last year, which was just outside the top 20. The defense and DH risk are going to hurt his value though. Number 32 is Brent Rooker. As a corner outfielder and designated hitter, it's going to be hard to work your way onto this list because of the lack of defensive value, but if somebody's going to do it, it's going to be a guy like Rooker. His 164 WRC+ last year was the 7th highest in the league. The A's got him on an absolute steal of a contract, $60 million over 5 years, and 3 of those years are free agency years. Number 31 is Carlos Correa for the Minnesota Twins. Correa finished 2024 with a 4.3 WAR despite only playing in 86 games, on pace for his best season of his career. He's an above-average defensive shortstop, walked 11% of the time last year, and struck out only 16% of the time. There's a narrative out there that he's injury-prone, but this is the first time he's played less than 135 games since 2019, and I'm high on Correa for 2025. Number 30 is the 2024 NL Cy Young winner Chris Sale. Sale led the league in FIP last year among starters with 2.09, as well as called strike whiff rate at 32.3%. His ERA was only 2.38, his xFIP was 2.64, strikeout rate of 32 to a walk rate of only 5.5. The big problem, though, is that he's 36 years old this year. Can he maintain this elite production into his late 30s? I still have him fairly high, but being a little conservative at 30. Number 29 is Zach Wheeler. The last time he had under 4 F4, excluding the 2020 season, was 2017. 3.13 FIP last year, 2.57 ERA, he induces weak contact, 92nd percentile exit velocity against him last year, he strikes out batters at a 28.5% clip and walks only 6.6%. He's been doing this for a long time, but Wheeler is going into his 35-year-old season, so there is a little age regression risk involved here, but there aren't many signs of that yet. Number 28 is William Contreras. Contreras broke out in 2023 defensively, posting an 8 fielding run value with his 93rd percentile framing. Last year, that number went down to -1, and his framing was in the 51st percentile. Though he was better at the plate, posting an 831 OPS and a 131 OPS+. If he combines that offense from 2024 with the defense from 2023, you have the best catcher in the league. But that's not a guarantee that he does it, so I can't put him in that spot yet. At 27 is Riley Green. His walk rate increased by nearly 3% from 2023 into the 83rd percentile. He had a 90th percentile barrel rate last year. Part of that is thanks to his 85th percentile bat speed. He does strike out quite a bit, but not a concerning amount. These underlying numbers have always been strong for Green, but last year he finally saw the results as he recorded a 135 WRC+ and 4.0 F4 in 137 games. He's a plus defender in a corner outfield spot, and he's only going to be 24 years old in 2025. I think we could see another big jump from Green in 2025. Number 26 is Ronald Acuna Jr. Now, a disclaimer, this is taking into account that he's going to miss at least a month this year recovering from his ACL injury. Before 2023, he was looked at as an elite power speed guy. He strikes out more than average, but he hits the ball hard when he does make contact. In 2023, his strikeout rate fell from 23.6% to 11.4%. He was a 40-homer guy before, but with that low strikeout rate, he's a 40-homer guy that's hitting .340, aka a top 3 player in the league. What's even weirder is that the K rate went back up to 24% in the 2024 season before he was injured. I've never really seen anything like this, and I have no idea what kind of Acuna we're going to see in 2025, but we do know he's coming off another major injury. Number 25 is Matt Chapman. This is another guy who I'm higher on than most. He had one of the best defensive seasons of his career with an 8 fielding run value last year. He also has a 97th percentile bat speed. He walks at an above average rate, he strikes out often, but we can deal with that because he hits the ball hard and plays elite defense. He accumulates WAR rather easily. Number 24 is Bryce Harper. Harper has been a great defensive first baseman since he moved there, but that good defense is not going to be worth as much at first base. He's still a fantastic hitter. His last 3 seasons were great. 139, 143, and 145 WRC+. I think the main reason why I have Harper outside the top 20 is the ceiling isn't as high compared to the guys in front of him. He only has 2 seasons over 5 F4 in the past 9 seasons. It's safe to say that he's going to eclipse 4 WAR, which is great, but the ceiling doesn't quite make him a top 20 player. Number 23 is Austin Riley. Riley did not play a full year in 2024 due to injury, but if you go back to the previous 3 seasons, all 3 of them were over 5 WAR. He's a little below average on defense at third, which is not that big of a trade-off for how good of a hitter he is. He hits the ball extremely hard, 96th percentile hard hit rate last season, and he pulls the ball in the air really well. This is a recipe for a lot of home runs and a lot of extra base hits, which we of course seen a lot of in the past from Riley. Number 22 is Ketel Marte. Marte had the best season of his career last year. He was a 6.3 WAR player despite only playing 136 games. Let me just run down the list here. Last season, he was 98th percentile in exit velocity, 85th percentile in walk rate, 72nd in strikeout rate, and 83rd in defense. Quite literally, there are no holes to his game. He's by far the best second baseman in the league, and actually the only second baseman on this list going into 2025. Number 21 is Cal Raleigh. I have him as the top catcher going into this year, and that is because of his all-around skill set. He's not quite as good as Patrick Bailey on defense, but he's not that far off. He had a 14 fielding run value last year, which is in the 98th percentile. He also had a 96th percentile barrel rate and 85th percentile walk rate. He plays in T-Mobile Park, so the OPS number isn't going to look great, but the WRC Plus was 117, which is a great mark for a catcher with his defensive ability. It's almost a lock for him to have a 4 WAR season, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets closer to 6 in 2025. Number 20 is Mike Trout. When Trout is on the field, he's always been good. Even last year in the 29 games that he played, he was still elite in those games with a 139 WRC plus. His defense and base running won't be as good as when he was number 1 in the league, but his hitting will still give him a lot of value. Number 19 is Rookie of the Year runner-up in the National League, Jackson Merrill. He had a 372 expected WOBA last year, which was in the 94th percentile. Not to mention, he was also a top defensive center fielder with a 10 fielding run value. He doesn't walk really at all with a 4.9% walk rate last year and a 14th percentile chase rate. If he truly is an 800 OPS guy, a good base runner, and a great defensive center fielder, you could start to compare him to a guy like Julio Rodriguez. And since he's done this as a 21-year-old, he can still even get better. Number 18 is Garrett Crochet. Crochet broke out last year, pitching to a 3.58 ERA, a 2.69 FIP, and a 2.38 xFIP over 146 innings. The ERA doesn't look amazing, but I wouldn't pay too much attention to that, as the White Sox had a horrible defense behind it. FIP and xFIP are much better stats to use when looking into the future performances, and Crochet was elite in those categories. He had a 35% strikeout rate last year, which was by far the best out of all starters. His walk rate was also low at 5.5%. Pitchers with that kind of stuff and command just don't come around often. Number 17 is Vlad Guerrero Jr. for the Toronto Blue Jays. Vlad finally had a great year with the production numbers. His underlying numbers have always been promising, but in 2024, we got to see a 165 WRC plus and a 5.4 FWAR. The offense is pretty much all of his value, as his defense isn't adding much and his base running is actually subtracting quite a lot. As long as his offensive production sustains, he will be up here in this range. Number 16 is Tarik Skubal, the AL Cy Young Award winner from 2024. Skubal was great last year, 2.49 FIP, 2.83 xFIP, and a 2.39 ERA. His changeup got a whiff rate of 46.1%, the second highest in the league, only behind Reagan's that we discussed earlier. He goes deep into games. He threw nearly 200 innings last year. If you're looking for a weakness, you're going to have to go somewhere else because there isn't much here. The biggest thing hurting him from climbing up this list is the fact that he's a starting pitcher and they finish much lower in value than the top-end position players. Number 15 is Yordan Alvarez. He's played 5 seasons excluding 2020, and in only one of those, his OPS was below 900. That was in 2021 when it was 877. His last 3 years, he's put up a 168 WRC plus last year, 170 in 2023, and 185 in 2022. His elite power, elite bat-to-ball skills, and great discipline make an almost alien combination that allows him to be high on this list as a DH. The list of players who have a 97th percentile bat speed, 88th percentile strikeout rate, and 92nd percentile walk rate is very short. In fact, it has a length of 1, with that being Yordan Alvarez. Number 14 is Corey Seager. Seager has hit at least 30 home runs in each of his past 3 seasons, thanks to his consistently hard exit velos and ability to elevate the ball. Last year, he was also great on defense, posting 6 outs above average at the shortstop position. We've yet to see this form of Corey Seager play in a full season. The past 2 years he's been elite, but he's only played in around 120 games. He was on an 8 WAR pace in 2023 and 6 WAR pace in 2024. No doubt he's a top player in the league heading into 2025. Number 13 is the NL Rookie of the Year winner, Paul Skeens. Skeens surpassed number 19 Jackson Merrill en route to the NL Rookie of the Year, which kind of already tells you how good he is. Everyone knows about the elite stuff that he has, but he also had a 78th percentile walk rate. His arm angle is pretty low to the ground, only 23 degrees, and the fastball has a ton of tail. That means if hitters even do make contact, it's often pretty weak. I think he is the top pitcher heading into 2025. Number 12 is the Dodgers shortstop Mookie Betts. He doesn't swing the bat hard, only a 14th percentile bat speed. He maximizes the energy of the collision between the bat and the ball. This is measured in squared up percentage, and he was in the 99th percentile last year. He also walked more than he struck out, something only 3 players did last year: Betts, Juan Soto, and Steven Kwan. Number 11 is Kyle Tucker. Tucker was on pace for a crazy season last year, but only played in 78 games. He accrued 4.2 WAR, meaning he was on an 8 WAR pace. Tucker's highest WAR season in his career is only 5 WAR, so it looked like we were finally going to see that elite season from Tucker. He has great plate discipline, the walk rate has skyrocketed over the past 2 seasons, he hits the ball hard, hits the ball often, and plays about average defense in a corner outfield spot. Not quite top 10 though, as there are a lot of good players to put up here. Number 10 is Fernando Tatis Jr., even though he only put up a 135 WRC plus and 3.2 WAR last season. His underlying numbers were very good. 96th percentile expected WOBA, 96th in expected average, 96th in expected slugging, 97th in exit velocity, 92nd in barrel rate, 99th in hard hit rate. The lowest number I just said was 92nd. He also did spend some time on the injured list last year, which could be a reason why we saw a huge dip in his defensive metrics, although they were still above league average. He has 5-tool potential, which means that his WAR could be pretty high in 2025. Number 9 is Julio Rodriguez. His 734 OPS was good for an OPS plus of 116 thanks to T-Mobile Park. Where you need to start with Julio is his defense. Elite defensive center fielder, he is 96th percentile sprint speed and also 96th percentile bat speed. That is a rare combination, and if he puts everything together, he could easily finish number 1 on this list for 2025, which is why he's here at number 9. Number 8 is Elly De La Cruz. I really just have to copy and paste what I said for Julio. 94th percentile in fielding run value last year, he's an elite defender, I don't care how many errors he makes, 90th percentile bat speed, and of course, we know he has 100th percentile sprint speed. His walk rate jumped up 2% from 2023 to 2024, which is great progression for the 23-year-old. He's an elite base runner, which is a lot more valuable than people think. If Shohei Ohtani didn't exist, Elly would probably be my pick for National League MVP. The ceiling is just crazy high. Number 7 is Jose Ramirez. I like how it's almost kind of a joke now to call Jose underrated because he's just been so good for so long. The ceiling may not be up there with Elly or Julio, but this guy's put up at least 6 FWAR in 5 out of his last 7 full seasons. Just an all-around star, base running, power hitting, bat-to-ball skills, discipline, solid defense, and he's been doing it for a long time. Number 6 is Francisco Lindor. He has an argument to be the second best defensive shortstop in the league, behind Dansby Swanson, which already puts his baseline value at a very high level. Once you add in the fact that he had an 844 OPS last year, above average walk and strikeout rates, and he's a plus base runner, you have an MVP candidate. Somehow this guy's not made an all-star team in the past 4 seasons despite having 2 MVP 9 finishes and a runner-up last year. I know he gets off to slow starts usually, but last year he was a no-brainer. Number 5 is Juan Soto. Obviously with Soto, you have to start off with the discipline. Soto has struck out less than he's walked in every year for the past 5 seasons. That's a feat we rarely see ever in today's game, and Soto just does it year in and year out. Not to mention, he also can hit for power too. 41 home runs last year. People do drag on him for his defense, but metrically, he grades out just a little below average. It's hard to believe that this guy's only 26 years old. Number 4 is Gunnar Henderson. Gunnar was the 8th best hitter in the league last year with a WRC plus of 155. He also is a solid defensive shortstop. WAR-wise, he was the 5th most valuable player, but his youth and positional value makes me think he'll be even better next year. Sprint speed, bat speed, whatever you want, he's got it. Camden Yards is a great park for his swing. A lot more home runs are in his future, and he's only going to be 24 years old this season. Number 3 is Aaron Judge. 2023 was a down year for Judge when he put up a 172 WRC plus. That's because the season surrounding that, he put up WRC pluses over 200. Something that's only happened 6 times since 2000. 4 by Barry Bonds, who had a little help in his system, if you will, and the other 2 are from Aaron Judge. He's moving back to corner outfield this year, thankfully, as he just doesn't have the range to play center. He's not number 2 though, solely because of his age. He's going to be 33, and this next guy is a little bit younger and a little bit more favorable in the age progression trajectory. Number 2 is Bobby Witt Jr. Witt may have put up one of, if not the best, non-deserving MVP season of all time, thanks to the guy that we just talked about. Witt is the best all-around player in the game right now. 100th percentile sprint speed, 95th percentile fielding run value at a premier position, 96th percentile as a base runner, and he also put up a near 1,000 OPS last year. We haven't seen a player like this since Mike Trout. Oh, and he's only 24 years old. And number 1 is Shohei Ohtani. Obviously, this guy comes out and puts up a 9 WAR season as a designated hitter. That's thanks to his hitting, but also his elite base running. This year, he's going to come back and pitch. I think that's all I have to say. Here is the full list. Let me know where I went wrong, who should be on this list, who shouldn't be, who's too high, who's too low. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.